Three products: pet insurance, the AI, and also the crypto insurance as well.
That wasn't what we wanted to build on day one, but it turned out to be the first business, got 90% market share.
Alvin Kwock is the co-founder and CEO of AIFT, a technology group focused on AI-driven cyber risk, insurance, and Web3 security solutions. Under Alvin's leadership, AIFT has expanded its footprint across Asia and the Middle East. Alvin is known for bridging deep technology, regulated industries, and scalable business models.
Sorry, you can cover 1.3 billion?
The reason why we can cover $1.3 billion is because we are using AI to attack AI. That is a patented technology that we have done.
Hello and welcome to Build It Up, where AI meets crypto, technology meets humanity, and East meets West. I'm Bill. Before we dive in, I just want to take a moment to say how much I appreciate you being here. If you have been watching the show and haven't subscribed yet, I would really appreciate your support. It helps us keep these conversations going. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now let's get into it. How are you, Alvin? Thank you for coming to our episode.
Yeah, hi Bill. Glad to be here on this podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, let's get started. You have been set up the AIFT for a long time and such a great journey. Congrats. How do you reposition the company from 1 degree to AIFT? What does the transition happen? And regarding the brand and the business model, could you introduce us a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in fact, we started back in 2016, August 2016, so when I was
9 years
9.5
ago.
years. And when we first started, the name of the company is AI Financial Technology Holding Company. Okay, so that was AIFT as a start. But clearly, AIFT is a brand vision, but it is not a consumer brand or whatsoever, right? So, and over the years, and I must say that 9-10 years ago, I think AI, it is definitely what it is today. Okay, so
Yeah.
it was a bit early when we first get started on AI, and then over the time, we have really developed 3 different business. So we have a B2C business, and at the time we take the name as 1 Degree. We have a blockchain business called One Infinity, and then a AI business called Falcon. Okay, so and the first business that took off was on the pet insurance business. Okay, so that
Pet
business,
insurance.
we
Interesting.
took the name 1 Degree, is a much more consumer friendly name. It's a kind of 6 degree of separation. We want to bring down 1 degree closer. Okay, so that really was the starting point of that. That wasn't what we wanted to build on day one, but it turned out to be the first business that took off. And particularly that because it's B2C, we got 90% market share in the market. And so I think for convenience reason, it's hard to build 2 brands at the same time. So we basically just, people just call us as 1 Degree Group and we just let it be, right? But over the years, the One Infinity business in blockchain, the Falcon business in AI, they are both taking off substantially right now. And then like when people start to search on 1 Degree, hey, this is something that I thought you guys are talking about pets. Why are you guys talking about blockchain, AI? So what we decided to do about 18 months ago is really to go back to our roots, go back to how we get started, and basically use AIFT as the group brand.
So now, do you still also use AIFT as your product brand? How do you break down your business line right now?
Yeah, so AIFT is really the group branding. So that is where the vision, the mission of the entire group is aligned. So what we are really doing is we take AI as a function of technology. Okay, and then we are here to secure the future. So that is really what we do this to align all the different stakeholders, be it investors, employees, the regulator, and different groups. Okay, it is not exactly a product brand. It is a group company. Okay, the product brand, we continue to retain it as 1 Degree for B2C, One Infinity for blockchain, and Falcon for AI.
Could you elaborate a little bit about the 3 products: pet insurance, the AI, and also the crypto insurance as well?
The beginning of why we started AIFT Group is that what we see is cybersecurity is a major issue, pretty much when it comes to adoption of technology. Okay, and then what we really want to pair is we want to pair cybersecurity technology with cyber insurance. Okay, and I think this goes back a little bit to my background. I was the co-head of TNT in JP Morgan in Asia back at the time. And what I found is that every 3-4 years, there's a new attack surface to come up. And then when it comes to new attack surface, as a new guy who really go deep into the space, there's really a lot that you can take as a category leader. And so blockchain and AI are the spaces that we really are trying to tackle. But at the same time, when it comes to cyber security, there's one question that people always ask a cybersecurity company, technology company, is hey, if you say your technology is so great, what if something goes wrong? Are you going to pay for that, right? So that is really to put money to where your mouth is and say, hey, your technology is great. I can even cover you on that. So that is really how mission and vision right at the beginning. And so when it comes to this journey, in addition to building the technology, I think another very important piece of pillar that we need to build is really to get an insurance license to be able to have that ability to underwrite the risk, right? Because otherwise, why would an insurance company trust you that this is something that is insurable?
Insurance license, so that one is dedicated for the crypto or both for the AI?
So it's a general insurance license, so non-life insurance. Okay. And that usually is a license that you can do anything from travel insurance, motor insurance, cyber insurance, or pet insurance, medical insurance, and all that. So that is the license that we got. Okay.
Gotcha.
So when regulator regulating this, they won't have the foresight that blockchain is coming, AI is coming. So what we really were, in our business plan back at the time, some 8-9 years ago, going to the regulator, is that we really want to first do the cyber insurance, okay, for any product line. Okay, so that was for both blockchain and AI.
So basically, cyber insurance break down to the subcategory product into your crypto insurance and also the AI product line.
Correct.
Okay, and how do you see those two industry customers demand difference? I mean, I understand for crypto usually if you can get access to the data, basically you can steal the money, right? But in Web2 or AI, pretty much the only thing can be available to steal is mostly about the data. Like how do you see the difference between those two industry?
The way I see the difference in between the two industries is Web3 is about money. And then when it comes to AI, it's really about the security and safety, okay, of data, but also it's about it could lead to doing something very wrong. Okay, so on the blockchain side, clearly we see a lot of theft going on because Web3 is really about a lot of it is about financial services, right? It's about exchanges, custodian, broker-dealer, and so on and so forth. And particularly when it comes to the case of custodian, you are really keeping the assets of the customers. Okay, so I think ever since back in the brick-and-mortar banks to a digital bank, now to Web3, then the hackers, right, the bad actors will find a way to try to exploit the system and try to steal the money and steal the asset from it. So, and we have seen that, let's say for last year, there's about $4 billion hacked over the year. So I mean that is something that
In crypto.
in crypto. So that I honestly think that the $4 billion is the reported number. The actual number is much higher than that.
Did you count in the Bybit 1.5?
Bybit itself was $1.5 billion overnight. So, but there's actually a lot more than that. Coinbase has a major hacking event. So I think the reported number was anywhere from 180 to 400 million losses. Okay, and then some other smaller exchanges and custodians are also suffering those hacking events. Okay, so that is really what the Web3 side is about. So it's about providing a better security solution for the custodian, for the exchanges, and then the insurance is really almost like a deposit protection scheme. Okay, in banks world, I think US have more than 200 bank robberies a year. Okay, so I think that was one of the reasons why this deposit protection scheme is set up. So that is really on the financial services that I think Web3 is the future infrastructure of financial services. Now, when you come to AI side, the kind of risk is quite different. I think the kind of risk that we're talking about is data leakage and also harmful messages. Now, I think there are
not the money directly, but the data.
Yeah, it's about the data, right? So a couple of months ago, there was a major hacking event with Mattia that 64 million job applicant data got leaked because the AI got hacked. A couple of weeks ago, ServiceNow, which is servicing the Fortune 500 companies, also got hacked. The data leakage, the hacking events is really something that could go quite wrong. Okay, and then the second part of it could go into data poisoning. and even have a wrong answer. Air Canada faced that issue that people go and do data poisoning of the chatbot, AI chatbots, and got them to change the answer.
That's a very high level of social engineering in a sense. Like how...
Exactly. It's really a social engineering. I think the techniques over the years are pretty much kind of, those techniques manifest in a very different way. And then there could also be harmful messages. ChatGPT, for example, guided a teenager to commit suicide. Okay. And this is something that is really, really unfortunate. And of course, there's a big discipline going on in how to do the red teaming, the gap browse. And then over time, we also just launched a cyber insurance that include the AI risk as well. And now, Bill, when we look at these two product lines, there's something that is really, really interesting going on. There's a pattern happening here. Is that I still remember some 5 years ago, all the insurance company would exclude blockchain risk, would exclude any coverage that is related to crypto. And in fourth quarter last year, this is now happening in AI. Okay, so now some 70-80% of the global insurance policies now have started to state an AI exclusion. So any cyber attacks, any cyber compromise that is because of using an AI system would not be covered. But this is something that really, really is defeating the purpose of the product. So I think this is something that we go extremely deep and starting from cybersecurity technology and how to make it safer, detect the risk, reduce and prevent the risk, and then now going to the insurance side, almost like to make it a warranty product, make people feel the peace of mind and safer when it comes to using these bleeding edge technology.
Okay, but if most of the insurance company they want to carve out the AI related laws, then what else they can do? I mean, like AI is penetrating into most of the use case globally. It's a very big carve out, right?
That is absolutely the case. I think when you look at how insurance company, the way that the business model works is that they look at the last 100 years of data, or at least 10, 20 years of data minimum. And then they do the actuarial calculation. They calculate, hey, how much potential losses that could be in place, how much reserve that I need to make, and that's how I price the product. This is the traditional insurance way of looking at things. But 5 years ago, in the blockchain side, now, when it comes to AI side, clearly we don't have that much data. So then the way that they used to price the products basically is broken. So now the way that we're doing it is completely flipping how insurance is working. Is that we treat the insurance product like a warranty product, like an extended warranty. Let's say if you think the refrigerator, I'm a Japanese brand or I'm a German brand. Hey, so my quality is so good. I give you that extended warranty. Let's say if the refrigerator is broken, within 2 hours time, I'm going to have it replaced. Okay, so this is kind of the concept behind this. And so what exactly we're doing in order to make it insurable is, number one, is really to, first of all, even before any issue happens, we do the red teaming. We find the vulnerability for the clients. So, for example, there was some financial institution that we did a red teaming exercise. We actually found a way to scrape the credit flag information. That is something that absolutely is one of the worst kind of data leakage. I mean, so that system, if it really goes live, I mean, it could be a disaster. So now we found out those problems and got down to work on it to really make sure that the data leakage potential issue is resolved ahead of the time. And then we also do a monitoring and a PII, proprietary, personally identifiable information that we do masking for them. Okay, to make sure that even on a real-time basis, if any of those data is leaks, we stop it. So then this is something that really becomes something insurable.
And on top of that, I wonder, you talk about the difference between the AI and the crypto scenario. And I wonder, how do you see the difference about the hackers, in those two domains? Are they the same group of the people or they are like different?
Great question. I think over the years, hackers basically go wherever there's ROI. And hackers also like to go, so return on investment, we are talking about where there's a lot of data, where there's a lot of money flow, and then where the system are the weakest. For some time, people were really hacking the social media company, like Meta, Google, the consumer company, and so on and so forth, the digital banks. Then when blockchain come into place, initially, of course, there's a lot of loopholes. Like, for example, the smart contract, there's a lot of issues and all the different things, or custodians and stuff like that. So it become a new playground, and where they find very high ROI for hacking. On the AI side, frankly speaking, a lot of the models, a lot of the systems are very leaky. So they found that the ROI is getting higher on the AI side. So some of the hackers start to move over. But in general, Bill, you are right about it. So a lot of them are actually the same group of people.
So it sounds like those hackers, they have a great learning capability. They always kind of a lifetime learner, catch up with all the technology improvement, covering both AI and the crypto.
Yeah, I think defend and attack, I think is a forever war.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I want to pivot gears a little bit. I know, now you are one of the leading tech, AI, and the crypto insurance company in the world. But I understand, as an insurance startup, you have to get a license first, right? How long does it take to get a license? And, how do you deal with it? I understand, as a fintech company, getting the license is always very suffering. And, when getting license during the course, you don't have any revenue on top of that. Like, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, my goodness, that was the dark age of our time. So back at the time, it took us 3.5 years, zero revenue, purely building the technology stack and also getting the insurance license. That was really the dark age of our time. So I think we started in August 2016 and we got the license in April 2020, 3.5 years.
It's like multiple years application to a university, right? You cannot do anything. You just try to fine tune the application.
Yeah, that was definitely a tough time. But having said that, I think building the technology side, well, I think particularly back at the time, I think blockchain and to really have the guts to insure something, we also need to go in depth about the work, right? At the time, we wrote a paper about the risk taxonomy of Web3. Okay, likewise, we did the same when it comes to AI and all that. So I think those years very well spent. I think just that, as a startup, like 3.5 years, no revenue. And at the time, we need to raise minimum $25 billion in capital in order to get the insurance license. That is no easy task.
Yeah, 4.5 years.
3.5.
3.5 years. Wow. So do you think this is gonna be your moat as well? Because the other new entrant, if they want to get into this domain, they need to spend a similar time.
I think this is absolutely the case. I think one is really when it comes to become a highly regulated business, that is a big moat. I think the second big moat is also the track record it takes to get people to believe in you. So Web3, let's say when you look at some of the hacking activities, the biggest hack last year was $1.5 billion. But there's no one insurance company again that can potentially cover that kind of losses.
Yes.
So quite frankly, when we first started some 4 or 5 years ago, we started off with 5 million coverage. Okay. But last year, the largest single limit on just one company is $1.3 billion.
Sorry, you can cover 1.3 billion?
We can cover $1.3 billion.
Oh, wow.
And the reason why we can cover $1.3 billion is because the 15 to 20 reinsurers and insurers will trust us. So we are able to syndicate the risk to 15 to 20 insurers and reinsurers. And how are they getting comfortable with that? It's really out of the 4 years of track record. A lot of the companies that got into those cyber attacks, unfortunately, we actually have seen those risks before. Some of them we warn them and say, hey, there's something that we see vulnerabilities and something that you have to face. Otherwise, we can't really work with you as an insurance client. Some of them listen to us. Okay, some of them don't. And unfortunately, many of them who did not listen and well, it turned out that something go quite wrong. On this, we actually have left a lot of money on the table, quite frankly, because we really just take 1 out of 5 clients who approach us.
Wow. Okay, that's very selective. So you mentioned even for one company, you can cover more than 1 billion coverage. So then, how much in total you are covering, for the risk exposure right now?
So at the moment, we are covering multi-billion. Frankly speaking, I think it's still a tip of the iceberg, considering that crypto is multi-trillion dollar asset class. But now, as you can see, the different regulators, particularly when it comes to regulated entity, this become a must-have. So in Dubai, FARA put it on the rule book that this is something that is a must-have. In Hong Kong, Singapore, Korea is a must-have. Now, MiCA is in place. I think there's a transitional period going on. But I think within 2 years' time, pretty much everyone would need to have insurance to safeguard the client assets.
And regarding the insurance and coverage, I wonder, do you see yourself as a insurtech, who are doing the insurance in a more scalable way, or you are a, sort of a frontier insurance company, but happen into a, new tech domain like crypto or AI?
I actually see ourselves as a cybersecurity company that come with an insurance license. Okay. And the reason why I say this is that, let's say when it comes to AI, we are now doing the cybersecurity work, cybersecurity technology for basically dozens of top logos in the world. So for example, when it comes to banks in UAE and Singapore and Taiwan, in Hong Kong, and all those are top 3 banks, energy companies, government agencies, sovereign AI models, consumer companies, and so on and so forth. So, and we are not touching anything on insurance at all up till end of last year. So in the first 1.5 years, it's purely on cybersecurity work for our clients. Okay. And I think the insurance part is, the way that we see it, is really a warranty product.
Yeah, this is also another form of security you can provide, right? You can provide a technical security solution, but also, the financial security solution in a sense as a combo in the end.
Yeah. And I also really feel that if it's just a statistical calculation and without helping the clients to reduce the losses and all that, I think it's quite meaningless. There was a stablecoin company that we actually detected the hackers are knocking on the door before the attack was successful. And we really take pride on those work because, hey, when there's adverse events that happen, so all the different stakeholders are going to be in trouble. The consumers are going to be extremely unhappy, the regulators, the reputation of the industry, and all that. So our mission and vision is really to secure the future. I think starting from the technology and also give the peace of the mind with insurance.
Now you're focusing on the crypto and AI industry as 2 of your main clients. But by any chance, you yourself also deploying the significant AI technology to your, risk assessment, risk intelligence, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. So for example, on the blockchain side, we have a product called Memory. So the product Memory is really a AI-powered risk intelligence platform that we actually have given this as a public good to the regulators to do the monitoring of the exchanges, custodians, broker-dealers for free. And in the blockchain side, what we found is that a lot of the time, if you detect for example, the hacking activities early on, you can potentially stop the draining, right? At least reduce the amount of the losses. I think that's number 1. Number 2 is that there are different irresponsible events that you also need to capture real time. So before people delete the messages, for example. So I think that is something that it is impossible to do this using human being. Okay, that must be done by the machine, done by AI, using large language model, and so on and so forth. So this is something that we have spent quite a bit of investment to make this work. Now, when it comes to the AI side, we are using AI to attack AI. Okay, in fact, that is a patented technology that we have done.
Yeah, what does it mean by AI to attack AI?
Yeah, so we use AI to populate thousands or tens of thousands of attack prompts to really try to use different attack techniques on different responsible AI risk that is in accordance to the kind of industry, the market, the culture that the target audience is with. So that we do a very comprehensive test for that. So to give you one example, there's a sovereign AI model that we have done. We got the mandate. So we do 20,000 tests for each of the 7 model and in 4 different languages. So altogether, there's close to 500,000 attack prompts that we have done. Okay. So this must be done in an AI way. We literally have finished the work within a week's time on this one. So, and I think attacking AI is going to be the name of the game down the road.
Interesting. So you even have some sovereign AI clients. Do you think, those type of public sector AI, sovereign AI is also become one of the major force of the AI player in the market?
I think so. I think particularly when it comes to GCC countries, for example, clearly they have their own unique set of culture. It's in Arabic. There's a lot of immigrants. Okay, so Hindi, Chinese, the other Emiratis, of course, English. So the culture is quite different. They will surface well across all these. I think that's number 1. I think number 2, also, many of the different countries are really trying to build the AI that would take into account of the cultural aspects, of the country. Okay, so you see Japan has their own sovereign AI, Korea, the multiple sovereign AI models, Malaysia has that, Singapore has that, UAE has that, Saudi Arabia has that. So I think this is really becoming a new trend. And so sovereign AI models is clearly a big trend going on. And I think the second big trend going on is the AI agents that the different enterprises using. So I think the AI agents for the different enterprises is our core group of customers. And then sovereign AI model, of course, is a much more on a foundation basis that we are also tackling.
Do you think, those sovereign AI is kind of like a sovereign, let's say, Claude, like a very typical LM model going forward, will replace a lot of, the regional use case in the future?
I think a lot of the sovereign AI models are using open source model or the top models and basically make it a tweak of Falcon. So they would use some of the data to train to make sure there's the right guardrail. For example, like I said, the cultural aspect to this, the religious aspect to it. So they want to make sure that is something that is catered to their own environment.
I think, that must be a music to your business because going forward, we do see the landscape of the AI model will be more fragmented than as of now, right? Because now, pretty much we only have, a handful model controlled by the hyperscaler, etc. But going forward, if there are like, many models over there, and I guess, most of them, they will have all different kind of needs of the cybersecurity and insurance.
Absolutely. And Bill, there's one thing noteworthy here also is because this is about language. And so what we have seen is that when it comes to English models, the attack success rate is much lower. Okay, because
Why?
there's a lot of users who start to uncover the different problems. Okay. So, but we have published a couple of papers. One paper that we did it with AI Verify Foundation, that what we found is that using the same attack technique, using English is not successful, but using Chinese, it was successful. Okay, so attack success rate when it comes to using Chinese language is almost double. We tried that done on Korean language. It's almost 5 times. And this is something that we really trying to help out because otherwise, I think the AI, I think it's going to be a global phenomenon, and we need to help the different, even the smaller languages, to be able to embrace AI.
I have another question on top of that is when you talk about those new use case on cybersecurity, when you get into this business, did you, discuss with your team, whether, let's say, the last generation cybersecurity company, they can do that or not? Like, the Palo Alto network, etc. Why, this industry in the end need a new player? But I understand, now you have your track record. And if you look at, retrospectively, how do you see the whole journey? How do you see the competition with the incumbent players?
I used to cover all the different large cybersecurity companies. Back in my previous life, I was with JP Morgan at the time and covering the TMT and also the cybersecurity sector. So what I observe is that every 3-4 years, there's a new attack surface. In the past, you have the endpoint security, the server security, the email security, and all that. And then now blockchain is clearly a new distinct attack surface out there. AI, I think the reason why there's a lot of opportunity for startup like us is really because the architecture is completely different. So when we doing generative AI, it's a probabilistic, it's not a deterministic kind of architecture. So the architecture become completely different. So what we found is that clearly, because this AI is such a big and clear trend. So what we have seen is that starting from last year, there's quite a number of large cybersecurity companies like Palo Alto Networks, like Cisco, F5. They start to make acquisition of the startups that are working on the AI cybersecurity risk. So I think the large traditional cybersecurity company, what they would do is likely to use acquisition to accelerate the entry into this area.
So it's very typical buy and grow, right? Instead of organic growth, just buy the startup to grow. You start your career as equity research, and it's not very common, for equity research guy pivot to a cybersecurity builder. And from my understanding, most of the equity research guy, ended up as a hedge fund manager or something. Yeah, like what is your unique, experience? Like how do you make this pivot back to 9 years ago?
Well, in my view, I think it's going back to the same thing that I said about is put the money to where your mouth is. I think as a hedge fund manager, we put money to where your mouth is by taking the action and
Yes.
see if the stock goes up or down and stuff like that. And I think when I was doing equity research, I think back at the time, I really love looking at trends a couple of years ahead of the time, because I think when you go into a new trend way too early, let's say if it's 10 years too early, I think the company would die several times. But if it come into a trend too late, there's other guys who already come in, there's no opportunity for you to get there. Okay, so I think this is something that I really enjoy is calling the new trends and then executing on it. Okay, so that's something. Well, it took some time to well, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and stuff like that. But it's just something extremely enjoyable, and also I think a lot of social value, a lot of mission, and get the team together and tackle a real world problem. We just love it.
Okay, so basically you get an interest into the cybersecurity even when you are in JP Morgan when you cover the
Yeah,
technology sector.
that's right.
Yeah, that's very inspiring. And how do you see the AIFT in next 5 years? And from size perspective, and also from the market landscape perspective, how do you see yourself in next 5 years?
Earlier this week, we just announced that 5 years into operation, we have become profitable last year. So I think last 5 years is really about going from 0 to 1, okay, and get ourselves into a viable and sustainable path, okay,
Yes.
and having all those building blocks in place. I think that's what we have done in the last 5 years. I think in the next 5 years, what I really see is a couple of things. First of all, blockchain, I think is really going to mass adoption phase. Likewise, AI, and this is something that's also going to the global scene. So what we really hope to achieve is that we want to help, particularly the Asia markets, the Middle East, and the EMEA markets to thrive in this era. I think a lot of people say when it comes to AI, it's really just about US and China. But I think that this is an extremely important productivity tool down the road. I think Middle East has the foresight to really embrace this and potentially also take this to other countries in Africa, across Middle East, and also into Europe. That is something that we spend a whole lot of time on. Also, likewise in North Asia and Southeast Asia markets. So that's something number one. I think number two, since we now start to get into a profitable state, I think we want to get ourselves IPO ready in 2 years' time. I think those are the two key overriding objectives that we have.
That's very exciting. Do you want to go to IPO in US or maybe somewhere else?
Quite frankly, we haven't thought about this too closely yet. I think we want to get our condition. Well, back at the time when I was in JP Morgan, what I found is that if a company needs to get to a certain maturity, okay, before it can really go IPO. So for example, the numbers, the forecast need to get a lot more predictable. So, and number two, I think the scale need to get to a certain level. And then at the right condition, I think US, clearly a lot of technology company are going IPO for that. I even think Middle East is a potential fertile ground down the road, potentially dual listing between Middle East and Asia. I
Yeah.
think those are all possibilities.
Yeah, that would be very innovative. You mentioned commercially you want to spend more time on Asia and EMENA, partially because there are a lot of clients' budget. And is it also partially because the US is a little bit independent? It's also more crowded at supply side.
So what I see is a couple of things. One, indeed, I think US is very crowded. I think quite frankly, for anyone who wants to tap into US, I think the whole founding team should be in US.
Oh,
Right?
really? Okay, so you cannot you stay in Asia, but you travel frequently.
I don't think that will work. I think that must really station in US and really search for the product market fit there and scale that. Okay. So and then when it comes to Middle East, I think several things. One, it has its own unique set of culture, unique set of markets, languages, and so on and so forth. So first of all, I think it's really the way that it works is a very face-to-face culture, building trust and all that. Number two, I think is the pace is extremely fast. I almost think it's almost like Shenzhen back in some 20, 30 years ago.
No, really?
Yeah. So like when I meet a $10 billion company CEO, for example, and when the CEO like what we are doing, we can meet 4 times a week. That kind of pace is something that I think when it comes to some other more developed markets is quite hard to get.
Yes.
Right. But you also get things done a lot faster. I think it's partially an immigrant mentality, right? And Middle East is full of immigrants, particularly Abu Dhabi, Dubai.
Exactly.
So and that kind of speed is something that I really enjoy. And I think number three is that I think Middle East, particularly UAE, the radius, okay, that it is covering. It's not just about that single market, but also across GCC, the African markets, where the population is growing very fast. The more entrepreneurial Europeans, a lot of them are in the Middle East as well. Okay, and I think that is an area that that we found to be extremely attractive market for us.
GCC, especially UAE, is more like a oasis. I mean, all the winners from different markets, they move to here. And that's why, I hear a saying from my one of my Asia friend. He said that, it's a little bit, surprising and abnormal to see, UAE with a very good, vibrant, the economy is going good, everything is positive because, in such a chaotic world, in most of the places in the world, the morale is not that high, right? So, which is, very interesting to observe, the UAE and the GCC, it's kind
Yeah.
of all the winners from global and then, they stay here, build up the oasis in a sense.
I absolutely agree with you. I think one, they're making friends with everyone. And so I think this is really, really, really great. That is really what we like, is to make friends with everyone. Yeah. So it has been a great journey.
I just have one last question before we conclude the conversation. What would be your advice to the younger generation if they are in college or they just graduate, for select the major direction and industry? What's your advice to them?
Well, I think every era has its own set of opportunities. I think the last generation, it was really about banking, real estate, on that. I think this generation is about blockchain, AI, like the new different frontier technology. I'm sure in the next generation, AI probably is going to go to ways that you and I cannot imagine at this moment. Keep an open mind. Embrace new things, learn how to learn. This is how we always believe in.
So not only to be a lifetime learner, but also, keep learn how to learn, right? Because even this, primitive way, it's changing along the way as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Alvin. Thank you for your time and I really appreciate for your inspiring sharing.
Thank you, Bill. Chat again soon.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks for watching Build It Up. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a comment, and share it with a friend. And if you'd like to catch more stories and insights, you can follow me on LinkedIn, X, and of course, right here on YouTube. I'm Bill. See you in the next one.